Okay.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. Say welcome to Coffee Chat with Jeanie and Cindy. So
I'll drink to that little Woodser.
this is Buddy,
Hmm.
okay? And Buddy is a puppy, so I'm going to let Puppy Bud. There's nothing better than puppy, little puppy breath. Okay, you go in and see Daddy. Okay, all right, goodbye. Let me shut the door. There we go. Okay,
How cute is
so. I want to tell a little story about Buddy. So, my granddaughter, Sarah, had a dog named Otis, and it was a long haired dachshund. And he got out and he's never come back. So, about 4 weeks after he got out, and she started writing letters to Santa Claus. Please, I don't want anything else. I just want my puppy to come home, right? And she had been in quite a state of depression because she was the one who let him out. And
it?
he was a little stinker. I mean, he found a way to get out of the backyard. And, but this time he just never came home. So we don't know what happened to Otis. We don't know. But we do know that she was very depressed. So Santa Claus brought Buddy. And that fixed everything.
Mm-hmm.
She still misses Otis, but it was such a gigantic void. I mean, she had 6 letters written to Santa Claus
Oh,
to bring Otis back. But little Buddy has filled the bill now. And so she's in California, and so we have Buddy.
that's
And,
fun.
yeah,
That's
and connecting with Buddy. So when they went to pick Buddy up at the kennel, he was the last of the litter. So he was the last puppy to be sold. But all the way home, he sat in Dennis's lap. So that's who he is bonded with. And he wants
and
to,
your husband is kind of an animal whisperer too, isn't it? Like a
right.
horse whisperer.
Well, he grew up on a farm
Mhm.
and he learned early on, like when he was 11 or 12 years old, that with animals that he could put his hand on an animal and his hand would get very hot and heal the animal or set it on its way. He just had this instinct to do that. And so he's always kind of had that hands on. It has to be, I would never say that Dennis is a, hands on healer and, come one and all and do all that. He has to be attached, emotionally attached to that person. And when he puts his hands on people. But I mean, I've seen it throughout our marriage. We've been married 38 years, and I have seen him put hands on horses and people and dogs and watch them heal. One in particular was a barrel racing horse, and this poor little girl, she thought she had to put her horse down. And he went over there and put his hand, he says his hands had never gotten so hot. He had it on his cornet and just got real hot. And 2 days later, that horse was running around the corral. So it's, and
The great thing about animals is that they have no resistance,
yes, that's
right?
right. That's
Right.
exactly right. And so that heat, when he knows it's healing, when he feels that very strong, strong, strong heat, but it's
Mhm.
just love. And he's just, all he's doing is asking God to use him as a conduit, in love.
Well,
It's
my husband's a veterinarian,
right.
and he got into the idea of being a veterinarian when he was in middle school in Mesquite, Texas, and he was working at the Mesquite Rodeo.
Uh-huh.
And so he was working with all of this, and one of his middle school teachers gave him the book called Circus Doctor, and it was about the veterinarian who worked with the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And I don't know if you know this, Cindy, but that doctor was from Kerrville, Texas, right down the road from me.
No kidding.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So anyhow, he read that book and he went, "That's it. I'm going to become a veterinarian." And he did. And, but I had, and he also became a minister, and then he also became, an engineering, natural resources, scientist and all of that, public health and all that. But, I was also a unity minister, and we did one time a blessing of the animals, the St. Francis, in the fall.
October 4th. Yeah.
And so we had put this big kind of affair together, and told people to bring their animals, and we would bless the animals. And we had the most interesting people show up. There was this one guy, and he is a horse chiropractor, and his wife was just so awesome. And she wrote this book called Men Are Dogs. And I was like, well, that's rude, but it is so adorable, because it's like, some are retrievers, and some are guard dogs, and some are, they're just all relaxed. And some, this whole thing it's a great book. It's really kind and sweet. But anyhow, people brought their parrots and their ferrets and their dogs. And they brought all kinds, a snake, brought all kinds of animals. And so there was this one couple that had come, and they said, well, we would love to bring our dog, but he is just all crippled up, and we don't know. We've taken him to the doctor, to the vet, and, they've given him stuff, but he can barely get up and down the stairs in our house and all of that. And I said, would it be okay if we hold hands in a circle and pray for your dog? They're like, well, sure. So we did, and we mentally put this dog in the circle, and we just bombarded him with just love and healing and all of that. That was on a Saturday. The next day, they came to my church, and they were like, we don't know what you did, but we went home, and that dog is running up and down the stairs like a puppy.
Right.
Totally changed.
Right. Well, didn't we have somebody at our retreat?
Oh, yeah, Jeanie, and her dog was diagnosed by the medical school of, having, it was an Irish setter, and having tumors and, going to die and all of that. And we held Rhett in our prayers and stuff. And she came back and she went, he's healed. And so she took him back to the medical, the facility, the teaching facility, and said, oh, I'm sorry, my nose is so itchy. And they took x-rays, and they said, well, there's no cancer here. And she was like, yeah. And they went, well, here's what happened. We think we just mixed up the x-rays. She went, no, you did not mix up the x-rays, because that dog was sick. And then he lived for another couple of years, and very well. I had someone who had come to me too, that they had this little tiny dog, and I don't even know what it was, maybe a Chihuahua, but a little one, miniature. And one of their granddaughters had taken that dog just playing, and had by the front legs, and had broken both of his front legs. So they took him to the veterinarian. They went, they splinted it, and they said, this dog is probably not going to make it. And if he does, he'll never walk again. And, everyone feels bad about it. And we went, okay, we're going to pray for this dog. So we did. And we just held that dog, and his legs healed. He was perfect. I had another woman that I went to her little shop over near White Rock Lake, who was a friend of mine and came to our church. And she had this horse named Lady. And I walked in one day, she had this really cute little art store and antique store, and she was just crying. And I said, Nora, what's wrong? And she said, oh, I just got off the phone. She said, my horse is over in Granbury, which is like 50 miles away. And they just called and said that she's got colic. Well, that's, your guts are all twisted, and horses die from that. And I said, well, can we pray for Lady? Okay. So we prayed for Lady, and she said, well, I know that he's going to put the horse down, but I'm going to go out there anyhow. And I said, we're just going to pray for Lady. So she left, closed up the store. And a couple of days later, I get a call, and I'm assuming the horse has been put down. And she said, oh my God, Jeanie, She said, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" And she said, lady is healed. She's alive." And I went, "Wait a minute. We're raising horses from the dead now? I'm not sure what's And she went, no. She said, "What happened was this old country doctor," he said, "every time he would go out in the pasture and she'd be lying down there in pain, and he had the big syringe, and he said she would struggle to her feet and look him in the eye. And he went, I can't put her down. She still wants to be alive." Well, we had been praying for her. And
that's a real doctor.
But that horse was healed. So, the communication with animals and with our ability to see their pure heart. And it's not like, you talked about little Otis running away and, stuff happens. It just does. But over the past several years, we had 5 elderly dogs, and we lost 5 dogs in like 3 years, which were just crushing. It's like, and there's nothing you can do. And my husband's a doctor, we couldn't do anything besides just love on them. But with each of them, I hope I don't cry, is that we would sit with them toward the end and just sing to them. And we would tell them, oh my God, we would tell them stories about, "Hey, do you remember when you chased that raccoon up the tree? And, you were a mighty hunter, and you were this and da, da, da." And, it was a beautiful way to transition them out. Well, my husband is, he's so funny because he was like, "I can tell you one thing. As soon as that last dog is gone, we are not getting any more dogs." And I was like, "Oh, you're so full of it." I was like, "Okay, yeah," because I'm not fighting that battle. Well, we made the mistake of going to the sheep trials out here in Junction. That's like in February one year, and they run these border collies and they run these dogs, and they whistle, and they're extraordinary. So at that time, Joe was working, really a lot more. And I always laugh about this because he was taking like Tuesdays off, and he came back from San Angelo, unbeknownst to me, with this little tiny border collie, Tip, and we had a border collie who died, and she was a long-haired one, but this is short. And I went, whoa. I said, "Wait, I give you one day off a week and you come back with a dog, a puppy?" And, of course we were laughing about it. And he was like, "Yeah, I know."
Well, Joe is has one of the biggest hearts I've ever seen in my life. Being around Joe, he just has this essence of caring.
He does. He does.
He
And so he also trains dogs for the local dog rescue so that they can get adopted. So he'll do obedience training, and he's fabulous, and we do it for free. And so anyhow, there was this one dog, and they said she is a wild child. She and her 3 brothers, they're big dogs, and they're running around up in London, which is like, 10 miles from here, London, Texas. And they were, jumping fences and killing chickens and hunting down deer and all that jazz. And the other 3, I'm sure they got shot at, and the other 3 got shot. So they ended up with her. And so she was being fostered out on a ranch, and they said, "She is a wild child." And Joe said, "Well, let me just give it a shot, just see if I can." Honey, that's Sammy. You've been around Sammy.
Yeah.
And turns out she's mostly Irish Wolfhound, and as soon as she started getting trained by Joe, she is the most docile, elegant dog. And she sits up front because both she and Tip go to work with Joe, and they sit there. And, and she is just posing, and people go, "What kind of dog is that? Look how well behaved they are." But you know what? They respond to love. And they also, I want to tell people, if you're not training your dogs, and if they're jumping up on people and stuff like that, that's your fault, because dogs are pack animals, and they want to know who the alpha is. And if you are not the loving, directing alpha, giving them a sense of safety that they can relax, "Oh, I don't have to worry about this," that's your fault. And they're going to be crazy because they'll become the alpha. So that's my little public service announcement.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because we're watching this dog, and the dog, like I said, responds to Dennis.
Right.
Every dog we've ever had is always follows me all around the house, but this particular dog is, I don't know that we've ever had a puppy like
Yeah.
that, you know. Usually we get,
Well, I mean, it's just important, and animals are important in our lives. We are so blessed to be able to, and I mean, we've had horses and we've had, dogs, and, we don't really have cats, and it's not because I don't like them. I'm just allergic to them, but, they depend on us,
oh yeah.
and we
No,
can like on them.
I was just gonna say, Denise just got into guinea pigs.
Oh, there you go.
So they've got 3 guinea pigs. They went to the store to get a guinea pig, and then they went and got 2 guinea pigs, and both female. Well, one of them started getting pretty fat, so they knew that they bought a pregnant guinea pig. But she's got this big, Jordan's built her this big, it's probably about not quite the size of a pool table, but almost this big cage where they run around, and she loves them. And those guinea pigs, they're very cute.
Well, when Joe had his multi-million-dollar company, a landfill up on the corner of Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico, and they were up on the thing, and he had put in, because they were looking at doing aquariums, and he traveled all over the nation looking at different aquariums. So they'd put in this huge, I mean, I don't know how many, maybe 16,000 gallons or something. It was a big thing. And they had all these exotic fish and fresh, saltwater fish, and it was gorgeous. Well, one night the maid was up there cleaning, and she took her mop and punctured that thing. I mean, we're talking a flood with all of these fish, and they tried to, get as many of the fish, but, it was just, and so you go, oh, that was just a fish. But let me tell you something. It was heartbreaking.
Oh, absolutely.
Heartbreaking.
Hearing the story is heartbreaking. Yeah.
It is. And I'm not trying to be maudlin about it, but,
No, you're right.
we connect with, whether it's fish or birds or dogs or horses.
If you're of that understanding of oneness, that this planet, that we all are one. We are one with the animals. We are one with the plants. We are one with the water. We are one with the land. We are one with each other.
Yeah.
This is the planet of oneness, where we all vibrate on planet Earth. We're all participating on this planet Earth. And it's important for us to understand that I like to live my life from the point of view of the observer. Especially when an emotion comes up that I don't like, I separate myself and kind of go tandem with God and say, okay, let's look at this. You and I look at this situation that Cindy's in. Right. And so I looked at my own situation objectively. And then if you get quiet or you ask a question, you will always get an answer, and it's the divine voice if it's not your own thought. And you start telling the difference. So I'll hear things like, remember our contract, remember you have to go through this, remember this is a school. The planet Earth and the human experience is a school for you to understand your divinity and who you really are. Oh man, this really sucks. Yeah, but you said you.
What was I thinking? I signed up for this. Oh my gosh. Anyhow, my friend, I just want to let people know we're recording this a little bit early, because when this is airing, we are actually at the women's retreat, Bnow, in Nacogdoches. So we're wrapping up our last day on the 16th. And so this is when it is airing. So we will give a full report after this. And, even though we're not, sure of everything that's going to happen. We know that things are truly getting ready to unfold in a magnificent way for all of us. So thank you again, my friend, and beautifulnetworkofwomen.com. Check us out. Start coming to our events. Let us hear from you. We're still doing the money game. So, we're about halfway through. Jump in if you want to go, just get in touch with me, Jeanie0318 @gmail.com, and we'll just fold you in. Love you, my friend. Mwah.
Love you too.